Hi, everyone.
I'm Jen,
And I'm Alina. We're back this week to talk about.
accepting different parts of ourselves. So, something really common I notice is the notion that I'll hear clients say, and even myself say, like, wait, that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. There's this
Mhm.
aspect of something comes up, like jealousy, anger, frustration, maybe feeling like needy. And it's this like part that it's like I want to silence that, or my clients like I want to silence that part. I don't want
Yeah.
this to be part of me.
Mhm.
And so what I want to talk about is how to accept that part, like
Yeah.
why it is important that we don't shut it down.
Yeah. And I think that's just totally human nature. Like, if you think about just like these parts of ourselves that are not our strengths or that, you know, feel icky to talk about or to think about, because it's not like it's messy. It's not all something that we necessarily want to show the world.
Absolutely.
And I think the reason we don't want to, or the reason we want to disown those parts of ourselves, is because it brings shame.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there is a huge shame component, especially if maybe you hold a completely different aspect to your identity. Mm-hmm. For example, like I'm a really nice person is something someone says. That's what I'm known for. So how can I feel?
Nice.
Oh, thank you.
Just want to affirm that.
Not personally me. Yeah. I was saying an example.
Okay, well, you are.
But I appreciate it. So yeah, that is something I can relate to. Is I'm a nice person, so how can I feel annoyed at this person? And there is a shame associated with that, and I see that a lot of times with clients and individuals that share the people pleasing type personality. But yeah, there's absolutely that shame of like, let's push this down. Let's not feel this.
Right. And I think also it's important to recognize that those things exist on a spectrum, right? So there are some times where those things are very present and it's like they seem to be popping up in all areas of life, and it just is like, why, like, I don't want to deal with this, and sometimes it can be a little bit more subtle where it's just kind of like makes you uncomfortable, you can kind of push it aside, but what happens is you push it aside for so long and then it gets to a point where it comes to a head and you really have to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Sometimes pushing it down actually makes it louder, right? Because it like wants to be heard.
Right. So like there's a saying like what you resist persists, right? So what you try to push away just keeps coming up.
I like that. I've never heard that, but I like how it rhymes.
Yeah, what you resist persists.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to just walk through some ways that we can accept that part of us, how you can kind of perceive when you notice that that is coming up.
Okay.
So the first part, as we both have been saying, there's different parts. You have different parts of you. You're not just one aspect. So when you notice an emotion coming up, don't fight it. Notice it. Bring it in. Kind of see like what is happening, like what emotion am I experiencing, and then acknowledge, okay, this is part of me. I acknowledge that I am feeling jealous right now. I acknowledge that I'm feeling frustrated right now, and that's okay. Encourage it to like encourage yourself to look at it and approach it with curiosity and open-mindedness.
Yeah, so that's really different than being like, why am I feeling like this? I shouldn't be, just kind of keeping an open mind. And that's a really big component in mindfulness too, right? Just observing what's happening. And, another thing we like to say is lean into it. If you're feeling really anxious, like, wow, okay, I'm feeling anxious. Invite it in like an old friend.
Exactly. And some people worry that this will actually make it louder, but what actually happens is it actually quiets it in some ways because you've acknowledged this part of you. You've acknowledged that I'm feeling this way.
Right.
Yeah. So next, what I would say is it can be really hard to acknowledge those parts. So provide yourself with a compassionate statement. Tell yourself something as you would say maybe to a friend, like, I notice that I'm feeling frustrated right now, and that's okay. That's okay because this situation is triggering to me. I accept that this is my emotion. I accept that it is okay to be upset. It is okay to be jealous because I'm human and I'm imperfect.
Right. And this is part of like self-compassion work too. Part of self-compassion is recognizing that what we're experiencing is not unique and that we're not the only ones experiencing it. That there are a lot of humans on this earth and that most everyone experiences things about themselves that they don't like or they're not okay with. And so recognizing that we're not alone or unique in having these feelings.
Absolutely. I love that aspect of self-compassion and that you said that because
Mhm.
that's so true. We're not the only person to ever feel jealous or
Right.
frustrated. It's a very universal human emotion.
Exactly. So remembering that in those
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. And then what you can do after you kind of acknowledge it, take it in,
Mhm.
take questioning, ground yourself.
Mm.
It can be hard sometimes to acknowledge, like, okay, I have this jealous part of me, I have this annoyed part of me. And how I would encourage you to ground yourself is take a deep breath, take a moment to feel like, okay, I can process this even further. I can
Mhm.
feel okay in it. I can almost even sit in this for a little bit and notice it. So ground yourself, take a deep breath, notice your feet on the ground. If you're sitting, notice how your body feels in the chair. Just bring yourself to the here and now. It's really important to get yourself not from up here to like down here to those like calmer brain waves, those alpha
Absolutely.
brain waves.
Absolutely. Yeah, and maybe put on some calming music, anything that will help you just kind of regroup and get more centered.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can decide after you've done all that how you want to proceed. So just because you feel an emotion doesn't mean that you have to act on it right away.
Mm-hmm.
So giving yourself a chance to be like, how do I want to proceed? Okay, I'm feeling jealous. Do I need to give myself some more self-compassion?
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling frustrated. Is this something that I want to talk to my friends about and let them know how I'm feeling? Am I feeling like this situation is triggering to me to where maybe for my own mental health, I need to step away and take a little bit more time to ground myself and process before I continue to engage.
Mm-hmm.
So acknowledging that part of you will help you decide how do I want to proceed, because sometimes we want to act so quickly.
Right.
We just want to get it away, or
Right.
once we notice it, we're like, okay, I'm feeling frustrated. I need to do something right away.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to do something right away.
Right. So I think what you're saying too is just like that acceptance piece. Like all of this kind of boils down to just accepting what is coming up. Like you become aware of it, you accept it, and then you can take some action once you get to that point where you're just a little bit more stable. And we talk a lot about the pause before we react, you know, just kind of having a little bit of space between the whatever the triggering event is to the response. You know, we want to learn how to respond instead of just reacting all the time.
Absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's basically what I have for this aspect of just noticing different parts of you and walking through those steps of self acceptance. Again, like all skills, be compassionate with yourself. This can be really hard to do, especially if you're used to pushing things down,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is a very common coping skill to just push, push, push. So,
Right.
experiencing these emotions, it can be a new skill, something to practice. And so, if it's a struggle for you, that's okay.
Right. And I think it's really important. The last thing I just want to say is like that compassion piece, that self acceptance is so important. And then also holding yourself accountable for your behavior. You know, because if we're constantly acting out of our emotions, that can really lead to some harm, both for ourselves and the people we love.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks, Jen. That was great.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. We'll see y'all next week. Take care.
Bye.